curriculum out there, and we've got to constantly reevaluate what we're doing K through 12 to make sure that we've got the kind of training that our Tennesseans, fellow Tennesseans, are going to need to fulfill this workforce. And one last thing I would close with too. You know, it goes back, and I know sometimes I sound like a tech geek when I start talking about broadband, but we've got to make those kind of courses available to the home front, because it all relates together. As we were talking about working families, we've got to be able to make those courses available to some of the people who live in the more remote areas of our state. And I believe we can do that through computers and through the internet, and make that kind of training available to them so that they can stay on the cutting edge, so they can understand what the needs are in the marketplace. And those are the kind of things that I think we've got to develop in our higher ed institutions can make available out there to the general public, so that they can stay on the cutting edge and one of those things. Because, as we all know, there are a lot of people who live out in some of our rural areas who will be looking to fill some of these jobs as we recruit industry into them. They may not be able to drive into. We've got community colleges that are located within, I think, generally about an hour and a half from almost any community in the state of Tennessee. But if you've got an ailing parent, if you've got kids who've got soccer or baseball or whatever, you can't devote an hour and a half going one direction and another. So I think we've got to reach out and make that kind of training available to them. And I think we can do that with technology. So I'm a big proponent of using those kind of tools to help train our workforce in science and technology as we go forward. Ward?
I'm in the process of visiting all the community colleges and technical schools across the state. And as you go through, you find that they have different propositions. A lot of them have satellite programs, and then have interactive programs across the state where a teacher can be in a classroom and give the class in several different locations at one time. And it's interesting. I love these schools because what you see, the regenerative nature of them. I met a man who runs the school, the technical school in Henry County, and he went there learning how to fix small motors. After that, when he finished that program, he went off and he fixed small motors, and paid for his way to get an accounting degree. He went off, did public accounting for a number of years, then came back and now runs the school, the technical school in Henry County. And I've always liked that story because of its regenerating aspect to it. I don't think that talking about K through 12 is going to do a lot for us going forward. I think we have spent so much time and so much money on K through 12 and have gotten very little out of it. I think we have to keep K through 12, but we have held it up as the answer to all of our problems, and it's obviously not. And what we need to do is to take what we do and how we train people for our manufacturing jobs so that people know how to do their jobs and they know what these jobs mean, and we have math and science programs that really connect to the new jobs out there. Now, every year, we're going to lose jobs. We're going to lose industries that become obsolete, they drop off the back of the truck. That is just the nature of life, and it's unfortunate. I heard a statistic not too long ago when my number 2 daughter entered her freshman year in college, and that is 50%, they told her, 50% of everything that you know now is going to be obsolete by the time you graduate, assuming you graduate in 4 years. That's how fast things change. We can't build a protective circle around ourselves and go through life in a bubble. We have to constantly be getting retrained, and we all have to be part of it. The state of Tennessee and everything we do in this state has to be part of it. We have to know how to connect the solar panels to the energy grid. We have to know how to manufacture the solar panels. We need to know how to put a geothermal system in a house. We need to know what the new jobs are going to be and constantly be looking out into the future. And that's the only way that we can do it, but we have to have the kind of economy that can keep up with it and make this happen for all Tennesseans. And I'm just afraid that what we have done, because of our focus in the past for so long and the way we have run our education system, is that so many people have lost hope. We have to have hope sooner, and we have to have success-proven paths.
Well, we get to one final question, and it too is fairly general in nature. It's not just jobs we want. It's a certain kind of job we'd like to see more of in Tennessee. What do we do with regard to our workforce to attract higher wages, stable employment, employers that don't run off after 2 years, jobs that are sufficiently sophisticated so the individuals involved are worth twice or 3 times the minimum wage? What do we do to attract high wage, high stability industry? Work?
Well, as I said previously, the only way we can do this is to take full recognition of what's coming down the path. The fact that when we talk about the green economy does not by in itself just mean renewable energy. It really means everything we're doing. It's how we teach, it's how we learn, it's how we function with our health care. It's recognizing that we have such a high percentage of self-inflicted disease. It's how we deal with our pollution and where it comes from, and how we go forward, and how these things all connect with each other. You know, back when Apple Computer was started, the whole idea with it and Microsoft was to allow personal computing. And companies like Hewlett-Packard and IBM and people who worked with those companies and thought they had lifetime employment found that they didn't. Everything shifted from the power of the institution to the power of the individual. And that's what we're going to see more of going forward. I don't think we can protect our employment, but what we can do and what you can do is insist that we really drive our technological capability forward. I've always been disappointed that when we lost GM and Chrysler to bankruptcy, that these companies were part of the lobbying effort against tougher fuel emission standards. Because that didn't just lose us 2 companies, it lost us global leadership in an industry. And we have to insist on more. We have to insist that our companies and our education take us further, faster. Because if we want to keep our jobs, or keep our jobs viable, that's the only way you can do it. I should mention too, I've got a plan, as part of my plan, to put high-speed rail across Tennessee. And that's going to influence every county, both rural and urban, in the state. And we have the opportunity with that to connect into the high-speed rail that's going into every state that's surrounding Tennessee, and to connect north, east, and bring tourism to this state. We have 184,000 jobs in this state that are connected to tourism. So when we think about how we educate, and we keep our jobs, we have to insist that not only do we have the technology, but we're bringing the businesses into the state that are going to pull us forward. The states in the future that have prosperity are going to be the states that have clean water for our population and sustainable jobs, and the states that have high-speed rail with low environmental impact, that are job producing, that produce revenues over and over every year, and bring people to this state from all over the country to spend their money. Now, as I said, it works its way from this side of the room to that side of the room, west to east, north to south. So it's not just education, it's not just jobs, but insisting that we are going into the future.